I'm delighted to be joined here by Lorraine, who supports her husband following his diagnosis of young onset Alzheimer's at the age of 58 in 2020. Thank you, Lorraine, for being here today to share your experience. So during this webinar, we're going to be hearing about the Joint Clinic for Young Onset Dementia in Leeds, which was where your husband received his diagnosis. How was your experience of the diagnosis process?
Well, right from the outset in 2017, our very first appointment at the memory clinic, they did tell us it was going to be a long process. It wasn't something that can be done quite quickly. My husband had to undergo sort of an initial assessment, and then he had many sessions with a psychologist. Over that period of time, it was like every month or something like that he'd go and they'd ask him a range of questions. He'd have to draw diagrams, things like that. But after the tests, the results were inconclusive. So we were told that they'd have to be repeated the following year. So they knew there was something there, but they wasn't quite sure. So we agreed we'd have them done the following year. While we were waiting for those tests to be repeated, my husband's symptoms did get worse. And due to the type of work that he did, an arborist, so, climbing trees, working with chainsaws, driving heavy machinery and things, he was put on medical suspension due to health and safety reasons whilst we got a diagnosis. In 2019, after having had the test repeated, my husband was diagnosed with possible dementia. And it wasn't until he'd had further scans in 2020 that we was told he had young onset Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease.
It's a long process to go through, a difficult time.
Quite some years,
waiting.
yes, because obviously we'd had signs, that something was wrong many years before that, but we always thought, oh, he's lost his keys, can't find his glasses, that type of thing. Yeah.
So why has it been so important for you and your husband to have received support from the Joint Clinic following your husband's diagnosis?
Well, for me, it's been an immense support. My husband's diagnosis is the first diagnosis the family's had any involvement in. We've not been around anybody before. So we wasn't fully aware of what was to come. And so that was quite scary. Furthermore, as he was diagnosed in the midst of the pandemic, we thought, crikey, we're going to be on his own here. But that wasn't the case. We were allocated an occupational therapist who we could contact if we needed any advice, or he'd check in with us periodically. He signposted us to various services and departments, such as welfare benefits, carers Leeds. He made a referral for my husband to attend the Dementia Hub, which he attends 3 times a week now. And he even supported us with an application for the Blue Badge scheme. He sent a letter in to support that. And I truly believe that had he not done that at that moment in time in my husband's sort of journey, we wouldn't have been, granted it at that stage. So in the beginning, he was like our first point of contact. He signed, as I mentioned, he did sign posters to various schemes. If we had any issues, he'd take that on board and he'd go and talk to the Joint Clinic and get back to us with anything he needed to get back to us. More recently, we tend to have like this indirect access to the consultants. So if my husband's experiencing any issues, he's having a bad time, all I have to do is ring the clinic and explain what's happening. And then usually within a week, somebody, usually the consultant, so I'm very lucky there, calls me back. It could be that they're just giving me advice, just reassuring me. It might be try upping his tablets or decreasing a particular tablet, or let's book an appointment in to come and see him.
That's amazing. That support.
Yeah, because when you're a full-time carer, you haven't got time to be ringing around this, department and that department, waiting for him to get back, chasing up calls and that. And this joint working really cuts that out.
Yeah, it's amazing. And for you, knowing you have one person you can contact when you have a question or a concern, and you have the faith that they will follow up and get back to you is amazing for you to have that support. And thinking about this joint clinic approach and the experience that you've had and the support you've received since, what has mattered to you most during this time?
What's mattered to us most? I'd say the experience I've had is that I tell it once, and then the joint clinics, they communicate with each other, come up with a plan or do whatever they have to do, and they get back to me, and tell me what I need to do, if anything. So it's a really streamlined process, and I feel really lucky to be part of that way of working, and more importantly, that me and my husband benefit from it.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like it really works for you, and that gives you the
it really has. Yeah.
That's great. Well, thank you very much for sharing your experience today. I think it's really important for us to hear how it's worked for you and your husband, and thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.